You say this record's darker, maybe lyrically and stuff. Is it heavier than stuff you've done in the past?
Absolutely the heaviest pop people record without a doubt, hands down.
Rock, metal, prog, and everything in between. Welcome to this episode of Talkin' Rock with Meltdown. Don't forget to follow the audio-only Talkin' Rock podcast on all podcast platforms. And now, it's time for today's conversation. Here's Meltdown.
Leigh, how's things in your world?
It's doing great, man. I'm excited to be back on with you, Meltdown. You look great. Summertime, good weather. You can't be mad.
Yeah, that's right. Have you spent the summertime here in Michigan?
I try to as much as I can. You know, I just obviously it's home. It's at least a home, and I try to get back, especially this time of year.
Yeah. What's been going on with the band?
A lot of cool stuff. You know, we're constantly been writing. New single, obviously coming here, and we're just excited, man. Just all this new things with pop evil spinning the world, and we can't wait to get it out there for the fans to hear.
Yeah, I just saw that. I think I just read a thing. You just talked recently about how, you wouldn't be opposed to just put out singles and stuff. But isn't there a part of you that's like old school that wants the whole record, the whole picture, the whole painting?
Used to be for sure. Nowadays, whatever, man. Just go. Let's go. You try not to overthink it. You know, at this point in our career, it's just, we want to put out great music and we want to constantly be pushing ourselves. So as long as the music feels right and it's complementary to not only the old catalog, but it shows focus on where we're going in the future, then I'm about it. It's just constantly from a personal standpoint, you want to grow, right, musically. And I think we're in the best time to be in a band or in the music business because it's all about what's next for a band. It's not about so much. And there's some fans that are old school and want, an album to be, back like it was in the old days or where they first, kind of came in contact with the band. But the times are changing, man, faster than we ever could really imagine. Certainly that I thought when I got started in this business. So just being able to stay relevant, to push so many young creative energy from bands, people that we're influenced by, that it's exciting to kind of, see how we've grown as musicians, as individuals, and as characters, and how we can bring these kind of new songs and these styles to the stage.
And now, of course, you got Blake in the band. Haley's not in the band anymore. Does that change the dynamic of writing, recording, anything like that?
I mean, yeah. I mean, every new person's different, and obviously Haley was great. She was amazing for us for a long time. But Blake now, and obviously his relationship with Joey, who plays bass with us, they played together in Egypt Central and Devour the Day. So there's such a chemistry now for our rhythm section that we've not had before, because when you grow up a bass and a drummer like Joey and Blake have, there's a tightness there that spreads to Nick, Dave, and I, the rest of the band. And it's been awesome having Blake. I mean, he's such a technical wizard. He's a guru. He's a writer. He's a singer. So being able to have someone I can bounce vocal ideas around or lyric ideas with, it's just been a blessing having Blake and Joey as well.
I was going to say, does he hit as hard as Haley does? Because she hits pretty hard.
He does, but Haley's a beast, no doubt about it. But Blake is he's been a drummer we would have dreamed to play with. I think our first tour we played on was with Egypt Central brought us out, and we would stay there and watch. We would come out and watch Blake play the drums every night and be like, wow, man, this guy, he hits super hard too, and he sings too, so adds those elements. But again, it's different. Haley was awesome as well, but it's the Blake era at the moment. So, we want to embrace Blake with open arms and just sky's the limit, see where he can help us take it.
So I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this before, but when Haley left, was he your first call or just because of his connection with Joey and because you guys knew him, or did you try out other drummers?
No, I think he was, let me see. He wasn't, I wasn't calling anybody, I just this was at the end of a tour. So we were all kind of just drained at the moment. So then when the smog cleared and kind of the weeks kind of turned to months, it was like, okay, look, let's take a hard look. And obviously Blake had 2 other bands he's in, like, do you want to have this? Is this a commitment for you? Because it wasn't about his playing, but we want someone who's committed to hopefully be around for as long as we can have them. I mean, life happens, this business is tough, and certainly people's goals, careers, motives change, but we want to try to find someone we can really grow with. And certainly from a drummer perspective, that's the house, right? That's the ground floor. You got to build, everything else is built around. So, had some great discussions. Just cool thing with Blake is I can be totally transparent with him. Hey, I'm looking for, can you do it? If not, no big deal. Let's stay friends. All good. Find somebody else. And he was like, I want it. I want to do it. Let's go. I'm super excited. And, he hadn't really had the drum. And Blake had been out actually to help us with some technical things and help us get, kind of the live show a little more tuned up. He's so intelligent on putting a show together and dialing it in. So he's been like a big brother and a role model for me over the years, just as a confidant and a friend. So that when we were touring together and he wasn't playing the drums, we had talked like, man, this would be sweet to have you on stage performing somehow. So we brought him up and was singing. We did a collab on the last album together, and it just kind of just snowballed, man. I mean, things are very organic. And like I said, when this business is very cutthroat, and when one person goes, then it's another opportunity for someone else.
Yeah, no doubt. So how much new music do you have written, demoed, ideas for? Is there a lot?
Yeah, there's a lot of it, a lot of new stuff. We're at that cool stage where we have enough for an album easily, but we're really trying to be picky, man. We want every song, and like you said, making albums now is personally is such a blessing, and it's something that may not be around much longer. So if we're gonna do it, it's going to be hit, big, 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 whatever that means to us, right? And big doesn't have to mean necessarily a number one. It has to mean like something that we can really elevate our live show with, And I think obviously there's an old school part of the catalog that's still there. We respect it. We want to play as much as possible, but at the same time, we're really looking forward to the future and how we can shape that and juggle all that. I mean, this is album number 8 now, so we're working on juggling and all the success we've had. How to juggle all these songs that we want to play, still continue to play, adding new ones, and of course the songs that we're just tired of that we want to rest for a little bit and maybe come back to in the future. So it's a bit of a challenge. It'll be interesting. It's a new dynamic for me personally and for Pop Evil, but it's one we look forward to. And Joey and Blake have been at the center of trying to make this live show the best as possible, and can't wait to really dive into the next album when we can really, really hopefully make some movement on putting the best Pop Evil show live forward. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, I was thinking about this when I came in today, and I've never really talked to you about like where do you guys, obviously you just said this is your 8th record coming out, so you have 7 behind you. So you've obviously recorded in different places and different environments. What is it like this time around?
What's different? I mean, I think there's a lot of personal. It's hard to explain. Like, the albums that we've done in the past, other than Onyx, I've really shied away from just my own personal takes on things. I'm a little more vague, but this album, I'm really soul searching, man. I mean, it really felt like when you strip everything back, what's left, and it's me. I started this band by myself in a garage years and years ago, and to be still here is awesome and it's great. But there's still lots to say, and I really thought that the fans owe an opportunity for me to get a lot of stuff that's just been burning on my chest, not just last record or this, but just since the beginning of my experience in this business, and where my head's at, and try to take a chance and an opportunity to personally heal, to move forward. So it feels like Onyx to me all over in a way. There's a lot of darkness that's been built up. I mean, even probably from the pandemic as well, and then just some things I wanted to get out. And I think you're going to get a little more personal. You're going to hear it in the lyrics, man. I mean, there's a lot of struggle, there's a lot of grind, and you're going to get that. And the band's been very supportive to just kind of let me go from a lead singer perspective and just kind of let me go on this journey. They've been very supportive. And it's been really, I've never really been in the position before with the band that would let me do that. So, with the guys now, we're all closer than ever. It's like, hey, they get it, man. They get it, and they understand the game and the business, and they want me to just push my boundaries a bit. And so, we pushed, and I can't wait for the fans to hear this, and hopefully, it's going to be a good part of healing for me, and most importantly, it's going to add to a lot of extra healing for our fan base and new fans coming on board as well.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because I just read Geezer Butler's book from Black Sabbath, and of course, when they started out in the early days, they were struggling. And then that's what they wrote about, and then they get to their 7th, 8th album, like you're talking about here, and they're like, "How are we supposed to write about struggle when we're living in our 20,000 square foot house in Beverly Hills?" It's like, but you're kind of saying that you're kind of going backwards to maybe some stuff you hadn't talked about before, or stuff you just want to get off your chest.
Yeah, I mean, the grind, the success for bands, and at least in our era, is not quite like that. So, I mean, there's still a lot of struggle. There's still a lot of scraping, counting every penny. I mean, and not just for me, but for the band, other band members, for crew. So there's a lot of, and we've had success. So, I mean, there's frustration in that. There's frustration in, people that have been around us throughout the years, and how their goals have changed and ours have stayed the same. There's frustration. It's not, you're not mad at it personally, but, there's a consequence in that. And there's a consequence not only for us, but for our family, So, I can only speak from my perspective, and I'm the obviously the owner and the front man and the singer and whatever it is. But I think that it's important for me for my own personal healing, to be a better frontman for our fans, and moving forward is you have to kind of address that and let that go, and hopefully not worry about tomorrow. I'm not worried about the ninth album. I'm not worried about the 10th album. I'm worried about this album, and really want to make this the best effort. And to be honest, the true goal of any success for me has always been bettering yourself, right? Like, we already did 7 albums. I don't want to go back and do those. We already did that. I've already toured on those for the past 2 years. And of course, the first album we've toured on for almost 20 years now. So it's like, you don't want to go back to those places, because some of those places can be dark, and they're not always good memories, so you don't want to go back and do some of these songs. Maybe there'll be a time, hopefully there'll be a time where you can go back and you can add certain songs to playlists, or maybe remaster certain songs. We definitely talked about it. But you got to be ready for that. I got to be ready as a person to just really take on that feat and be able to sing those every night, and just even let my mind go there. So obviously, time will tell. Anything's possible, but right now it just feels like the best version of Pop Evil is still on the horizon, and this is certainly, by far, again, the best Pop Evil record. I feel like a broken record. I say it every record, but you can really see, and if you're a true Pop Evil fan, you're going to really see the growth. I mean, the way that we've able to incorporate metal certainly is way different than the first album. I mean, being a radio band, or a band that has really been embraced by radio, metal and heavy metal especially wasn't getting played. We weren't in a position when we started to be able to take more of the evil side of Pop Evil, right? It was more the pop side, or the mainstream, or the melodic side of Pop Evil. But now it's a little different. Things are changing, with these festivals that here in America, the metal infusion with rock. It's exciting to kind of go down some of these paths that we've wanted to go down, our whole career, but we weren't doing, whether it was us, whether it was the producers, whether it was just the timing. But this album, there's a lot of darkness, again, very similar to Onyx, the third album. And we're looking forward to it, man. And it kicks off here with this new single, and we're definitely full speed go, man. As soon as this thing starts to roll, and we're ready to get back on tour, and to again chase it, man. Just to pretend like we don't have any hits. Let's just go, start over, man. Let's go.
So just kind of reading between the lines, you say this record's darker, maybe lyrically and stuff. Is it heavier than stuff you've done in the past?
Absolutely, the heaviest Pop Evil record, without a doubt.
Really?
Hands down. So it'll be interesting for what fans say on that. But the players, they're just different, right? When you put some of the same guys, you put in Joey and Blake, it's just a heavier band. I mean, it's just different. Joey and Blake come from metal and heavier rock and roll backgrounds. I mean, those what the guys can play. That's what we play. So that's kind of where it's at. And I think there's a darkness just where we're at in our career. It's like, okay, sure, we've had success, but we feel like we got a lot to prove, man. Like, we really look at this, like, every album since probably COVID, like, hey, we're starting over. Like, sure, I mean, we're grateful that we play certainly a lot of them, but it would be awesome to get to a place where we can pick and choose the old songs that we want to play. You know what I mean? Because people are more familiar with the newer stuff. Who knows? Time will tell, but certainly that's every band's dream, right? To always play the new stuff, right? You don't want to play the old stuff all the time. But we really, again, we feel like there's a lot of music still left to write, and we got a lot still left to say. So, with that said, here we are, we're rolling, and one album, one song at a time. But we certainly are excited about this and this next chapter of Pop Evil, and certainly where these songs are starting to sound like and where they're coming together. It's exciting, man. We're stoked.
Now, you said that the debut record is coming up on 20 years. So when does that turn 20?
You know what? I'm not exactly sure. What was it? 07? I know it was the first singles. Maybe the album came out in 08.
Okay.
So we're getting close.
Yeah.
We're getting close, right?
Well, it's funny because later on I'm talking to Vinny Dombrowski, because Rotting Pinata turns 30 tomorrow.
That's insane. Love the album. I got a couple of them in my house as well, man. That was one of my favorite. Big inspiration, Vinny, man. Obviously, Michigan guy, and over in even being over in Grand Rapids or in West Michigan, that's all we did was look to the Detroit sound, man. We looked to our Detroit brothers. Those were the guys that were making noise your way, and those were our idols. Those were our role models. So Vinny was certainly, I remember when just hearing about him for the first time and heading over to the intersection here in Grand Rapids to try to catch him. I actually saw him at Wing Stadium. He was opening up. I was talking to Vinny about this. He was opening up. I was talking actually to Ed from Live. It was Vinny, and it was Bush and Live.
Oh, yeah.
It was just an incredible show. So I got to see 3 of my favorite bands at the time, and it was awesome. So again, very inspirational. Obviously had a lot of pride for any of our Michigan bands, and certainly the Detroit bands that I love that had any success. So it was Vinny, great guy, and it's awesome to see that he's still climbing, man. He's still grinding.
Yeah, I love Vinny. He's one of my favorites. It's just it's funny. You just mentioned, you guys You guys came from a part of the country and a part of the world that isn't really known for sprouting rock bands or successful musical acts, but you're not far away from a town that is. What was the key, or what was the rock you guys pushed over that really turned Pop Evil into like a
Yeah.
national band?
Well, it was interesting. You're exactly right. West Michigan was not known. There was no, we didn't even have studios. Was kind of, if you go to a studio, they were recording commercials, right? Like it wasn't, there was no plaques on the wall to be inspired by. There was none of that. So it was like, you're like, hey, we're going to record an album and we want to record who, and the mixers or the engineers would look at you like, okay, it was their dream to do some band, so they try to mix you and you get your mix and you're like, oh boy. And it would sound like Dave Matthews Band or something. Because back in those days, I mean, especially where we live, it's all beach town. So
Mhm.
people, acoustic guitars and bare feet, man, like no one was, even though everyone loves metal here, it was just a different time, but where the heavy stuff was coming and where the rock and the metal, it was your way, it was in Detroit. So I would drive constantly to Detroit, heading up to Rust Belt Studios and trying to save every dime we could, playing covers with Pop Evil. None of us had money, so we would just play every cheesy cover. I'd be out there trying to get the first set we played 3 sets. So I'd have I always felt bad for my band because they'd be like, oh man, I got to play these covers. So I'd be like, why don't you guys go drink? I'll play some acoustic stuff and, we'll just kill some time. And then by the second set, we put on the Pop Evil show. And then the last set, we would just play like, fun covers, AC/DC, hip hop covers, and people would be drunk and go nuts. And then we'd make our $1,200 if we were lucky, maybe 700.
Mhm.
And then we would, we'd call up our boys at Rust Belt, Al, hey, can you get us in? And of course, he was doing Kid Rock stuff at the time. So, we had to wait. I think it was Rock and Roll Jesus he was doing
Yeah.
at the time, for Bob. So, it was frustrating. You're like, how are you going to get in with Kid Rock? But finally, there was a window, and we got to get in there, and 155 was the song I wrote actually for Kid Rock. It's a true story. Hoping not that Bob ever heard it. It was just hopes maybe if I can't get in, maybe he would hear this song, and maybe I was super naive. I was a young kid, so luckily for me, our manager came in and was like, "You're not giving that song to no one. We're going to record that song." And then, that song kind of started everything, and here we are.
Yeah, and it's funny because people may or may not know, but Vinny Dabrowski played drums at least in the song "Rock and Roll Jesus." I don't know about the whole
Yeah,
record.
yeah. He's definitely played a lot of stuff with Bob, so he could have played on that whole record. Who knows?
Yeah.
Vinny's super talented.
Yeah, so you mentioned 155, obviously kind of a more stripped down track. Did you find it at the beginning of your career that maybe because of the lack of studios or whatever the case was, that there were certain things you couldn't do musically?
Well, you get advice, right? Like at the time, you don't know anything about radio. I don't know anything about it. I don't know what a PD or an MD is. I don't know, what playlists are. I don't know how. I don't know any of the. I just don't know the language. I don't even know the recipe for even putting out a single. You're a naive kid. You're like, okay, wow, it was a cool song. Play it on the radio, or and even so much that from a radio perspective, right? Like I had to get educated to. You just don't bring your singles to guys at the radio. It's a lost cause. Don't do that. It almost makes you look even more local, right? So you have to, like, if I met, like, we broke at radio though. GRD was the local station here in Grand Rapids, and again, I didn't know what a program director was, but it had a late night jock that was a good friend of our guitar player, and he saw the drive, and we were starting to become that big fish in the small pond here in West Michigan, and we were packing out cover rooms. People would line up. I mean, we were college kids, so we knew everybody, and everybody was single, and everyone wanted to party and rage. So it was a lot of like Project X. So we had a Pop Evil band house, or the guys did. I didn't, and we would all go there, and the cops would show up at the house parties and dip their feet in the hot tub. I mean, it was a weird, awesome time, and everyone was supportive. So I remember then kind of people are saying, look, don't take these things to radio. Next thing you know, he's like, look, I'm going to set up a meeting with our program director. I want you to kind of give him your pitch. And I'm like, really? So I started the pitch. I remember going up into the big building there, and it's really intimidating. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, here I got this. But I had a cool little EP that I had pressed up. It was all pro. I had my own record company, so it was all legit, all LLC'd and all that. So I went up there and I was like, look, hey, first of all, and it was with the morning show too. So and I didn't know what a morning show was. It was with Freeburn Hot Wings.
Yeah.
So like it's a big syndicated morning show. They're all going to be at this meeting. Give them your pitch and go from there. And I'm just, again, super naive. I just went in. I was like, first, I want to start this meeting with, do not play my song. I don't want you to play my song. You don't have to play my song. I just want you to know this is what we're doing. If you have any national acts coming through town and you need an opener, we're here. We play covers, we do our originals, whatever you need us to do. We're here, you know. And then I said, look, and everyone at their desk had an individual EP, Pop Evil, and we had gone to LA, and I think I scraped. I mean, I fought to get like 10 grand,
Mm.
and I had a video done. It was a really cheap version of a Pop Evil video, and I played it on a laptop, and then I left. And then I left. And then literally my buddy called me, and then he's like, dude, I don't know what you did, but they're adding the record at 3. I think this was like at noon. And he's like, you know, JT's going to play the record at 3. And then I'm like, oh, what does that mean? He goes, it's Power, dude. They're going to start playing in Power. Like, no, it was at 3 first. And then a week goes on, and all our friends would be calling the radio station, you know, and they'd be like, oh my gosh, they're playing Pop Evil. And then he was like, call me back a week later. And he's like, dude, JT's adding it to Power. I'm like, what does that mean? I don't even know what that means. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, well, you're going to hear it a hell of a lot more, you know? So then it was cool. And then we stirred, you know, again, it's like that old classic stereotypical case happened. And then, you know, the manager our manager was, an independent for Island Def Jam at the time, you know, and didn't have any artists. And then he was working the Midwest, and JT had told, the PD had told, you know, our manager about it. And next thing you know, he'd called me. He's like, yo, we want to sign you. I'm like, what does that mean? You know, like, what do you mean? So it was it, but we need one more song. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't got any more songs, you know, cause I couldn't get into Detroit. So I had to keep driving to Detroit, you know, and trying to get some more songs done. And again, I had to wait for Bob to finish his record. So it was an awesome time, but it was very stressful. You know, I mean, in those years, you don't know what you're going to do, and you're right in that stage too in your early 20s. And I know most men can understand, if you have any parents that motivate you, that they were starting to sweat me. They were like, okay, how long are you going to do this? Like, this is, and I'm like, oh man, you know, like, I'm going to keep doing it no matter. I'll be a weekend warrior. Then I'll play from Wednesday to Sunday. I'll make a little side hustle and then call it a day. So it was just, I was always a businessman first, you know, so it was a crazy time looking back. But I mean, how all these things kind of snowballed, and that was just one obstacle. Then the first album obstacle, then the second album, and then the third. You know, so there's always something. You know, and it's just crazy. So I think what I've learned since COVID actually is just to stop and take some time for myself and not stress this as much. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, it consumes every second of your day. Certainly for me, because there's always one guy in every band that is 100% that band. Mm-hmm. And for me, I'm the Pop Evil guy. That's it. I don't have time for anything else. I don't do anything else. I only live and breathe and eat Pop Evil 100% of the time. That's why it's no problem. Joey and Blake can have their other bands, no problem. They don't have to think Pop Evil 24/7. Nick and Dave, they don't have to think about it. They can relax. But when it's time, they're ready to go. You know what I mean? So again, it's just like a team, right? Like LeBron's got to focus on the scoring. You need Steph Curry to focus on assists sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, you need Shaquille to worry about, you know, getting those rebounds. So it's just, everyone's kind of got a role. And as you get older in the game, and I'm sure most of these veteran bands will tell you, like, everyone knows their role. And when they do, the band starts to climb. When you don't know your role and you start fighting each other about, you know, what they want to do, or there's confusion, yeah, you know, bands don't last. And we've certainly had a lot of that too, where we've had to reshape, we've had to have better communication, we've had to have hard discussions, and, you know, we've had to make hard decisions. You know, I mean, any business is no different in music. I know it's not always fun for the fans, because fans they love us or the band members for what they are, and that's great. But unfortunately, you know, everyone's trying to make a living, and everyone's trying to hustle and do what's best for them and their families, and you got to respect them for that. It's never been anything intentional or anything hard ill will. It's just, hey, you make a decision, but then there's a repercussion. So it is what it is. And that's what's made this journey kind of fun, man. It's just, it's you never know. It's funny. Like, you'll be like, okay, cool. If I'm working my job this year, I'll be able to make this next year. I'll be able to take my vacation maybe around this time next summer. No, I don't get that. We don't get that. What are you doing next year, Leigh? I don't know. Maybe we can go do this. Well, I've been trying to go back up to Mackinac Island for 5 years now. I mean, it's one of my favorite spots in Michigan. If you don't know it, Google it. It's amazing. No cars, barely any phone service. So we've been trying to all go up there, you know, family, friends, and I haven't quite been able to make it, you know. So, and we play a lot in the summer. So it's a bit challenging, but, you know, hey, the other blessing is we have a fraternity of brothers that are band members, and then you have this community of fans that really help lift you up when you need it. I mean, you can make a post and get people commenting and giving you positivity is something that is a privilege, and it's something at this point in our career we definitely pride and we don't take lightly. We don't try not to take for granted, and we try to give them the best version of us that we can. And I think this album is certainly that. and we're becoming better musicians and better studio musicians. You know, I'm becoming hopefully a better writer at listening to what's going on internally with me and trying to express that, right? So with that said, it's been a very hard this has been a very tough album for sure. It's been about a year and 2 or 3 months now just to get what we have, and we're still not done. So I think I'm going back in September. But when I'm off, I'm not writing. I don't want to think about it. You know, I want to just relax, enjoy family, enjoy friends. And then when it's time to write, go back to writing. It's time to tour, focus on that. At least for me, that's allowed me to have a little bit more clarity with my mental health and stay focused on being the best version and the best frontman for our fans. So I'm super stoked and, looking forward to this next chapter.
Yeah, the best front man, and a JT mention. I forgot all about that, JT.
Yeah.
Yeah, best
Yeah.
front man, best father. You get to unplug a little bit, get to do all that. Best husband, kind of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man. You try to focus, all the nieces, nephews, the cousins, like everyone. I think at this point in our career, and again, any veteran band will tell you, to get here, you put your family, second. You put them number two for a long time. So it's important when you get those moments to remind them that they're number one. Thank them for all the help while we're gone and supporting us, and just try to spread the love, man. So it's been awesome, but still challenging. Like I said, we feel like the toughest work is still ahead for Pop Evil, and we don't want to be complacent. Don't get it twisted. We're not trying to be complacent. We're just trying to make sure that we can, really focus on the off time we have to give it where it needs to, put it where it needs to be. And then when it's time to hustle, it's time to grind. I mean, again, I've been doing it, for 20 years, probably 30, 40 when you think about the hustle before we even got known. So this is nothing new for me. It's my life. It's everything I've known. So, but it's been awesome to be able to, to be able to put it aside for a minute, come back. Certainly for me when it's everything I do anyway. So, but very excited. This new single, one of my favorites ever. So I cannot wait to see where it takes us, and hopefully the fans like it as much as we do.
Can you tell us the name of it?
Yeah, the song's called. Is this going? An interview going out now?
Today, probably. Yeah.
It's going out today. Yeah, well, I don't know if they want me to, but it's.
Okay,
How about
I don't
this?
want to. I don't want to put you in. I don't want to put.
I'm not sure before I get in trouble and do it, but it's coming.
Okay.
ASAP, and it's interesting about, like, I'll give you a little synopsis. Like, when you take the worst, craziest situations in your life, right? And it all happens to you, and you feel like you're at your lowest. You feel like you're at rock bottom. What is left? You look in the mirror. Who's looking back at you? Yourself. So when you think about what remains, the only thing left is you, and what you do with that is everything. So
you.
Yeah, it's up to you, man. So you are what remains. So it kind of figures out. It puts anything you want in life, from your wants, your needs, anything selfishly you want, your dreams, your hopes, comes down to you, man. You don't have to let anyone stop you. You don't have to let anyone's version of you prevent you from being that version of you that you want to be. So with that said, man, this is the song that really it really takes that angst, it takes that anger, takes that frustration, but harnesses it and aims it back at yourself. And so it reminds you, hopefully, when you look at the mirror, that, like, you are the person you need to be. Just got to go out there and take that first step and get it. So it's super cool. Obviously, a lot of positivity, and it comes out. It's very dark, and we'll see what y'all say here real soon.
All right, Leigh. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll leave it at that right there. Thanks so much for your time. And are you guys playing a Machine Shop shows again this year?
I hope so.
Okay. I thought I saw it.
I think we got tours coming soon. We're going to announce, so we'll see. But hopefully, it's not a tour without the shop show. Hopefully, real soon.
There you go. Well, Leigh, thanks for everything, man. It's always great to talk to you, brother.
Meltdown, likewise. I love your shirts, by the way. Go Tigers. And hopefully we got some celebration here with the Lions this season. So I'll be hoping to get your way. We can go catch a game.
This is actually a Bob Tyrell shirt. Do you know Bob?
I know the name, but I don't know him that well. Yeah. I know the name, just hearing it over the years.
He did that one for me, So yeah.
Wow.
Bob's
That's sick.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
He did Kid Rock's Eagle on his back too. Did you know that?
He did. Okay, that's probably where I heard his name before.
Wow.
But super talented, man. Super talented.